So, hello and welcome to the Autumn Standout series. This series aims to create a month of conversation around standout in the accounting and bookkeeping space. We want to talk about what it means, how it's relevant and important, if it is, how it benefits a firm and its clients, whether it's changed over time, and what role it needs to play in the future, if it does. Now, I'm a believer that it does, but hey, let's have a about it. So, standout or marketing in general can be seen as a dirty word. But difference has a place in all sectors, including accounting and bookkeeping. And the sooner the nettle is grasped, the more opportunity, or the right opportunity, will come a firm's way. That is all about getting your superpower and driving that value for your client. So, my mission is to support accountants and bookkeepers who are doing great things, but who have not really owned their space. And I think there's a massive opportunity to build standout for them. Okay, so today is slightly different. My guest is Mayank Pandya of Pinnacle Global Group, and we'll be talking about his standout brand and how he got to where he is now. Now, this is kind of different. We're going to be talking about how he's become standout rather than what standout means. So a little bit like Scott Johnson last week of Kung Fu Accounting, it'll be a bit of a case study. Now, before I introduce Mayank, full disclosure, he and his team sponsor our Accountant Success Secrets podcast, and we reached out to him for that very reason, because we think that the business does stand out. Anyway, welcome, Mayank. Do you want to introduce yourself a bit further?
Absolutely. Thank you, Philippa. Thoroughly appreciate this opportunity of inviting me on your Standout Autumn series. Myself, Mayank Pandya, I'm the founder and CEO of Pinnacle Global Group. We work with more than 120 accounting firms in the UK and Ireland, and we do outsourcing and offshoring services for them. I'm myself a chartered accountant, qualified chartered accountant. I've worked at PwC, set up the business in 2017 with a view to help global businesses, predominantly in the UK and Ireland to begin with. We got some clients in the States as well, basically to give them an access to capacity solution from a place called Mumbai. And, now we got, many other delivery centers, but Mumbai is our headquarter. And we have more than 250 team members working in our offices, serving more than 120 businesses, and basically helping them to grow their businesses, support their teams so that they can retain their team members well. And we have been doing this for more than 7-8 years now.
Wow, I didn't know you were ex PwC. I missed that. So how did you get into accounting then, and why did you leave and set up Pinnacle? Because that's quite a big leap, isn't it?
Absolutely. So I mean, back in 2006-7, when I was doing my college, so I studied in a college called Podar. I mean, it's one of the best college in Mumbai for commerce stream. And there, we had a lot of studious people, and that's what happens when you hang out with a lot of studious people. You want to do well because you are competing with them. So, and you're actually an average of 5 people around you. So it's all about, who you surround yourself with. And if you have, smarter people around you, you almost become an average of them. That's what I strongly believe. And nowadays it can be digitally as well, because, you may sort of follow someone digitally. So I had a very good influence of my peer when I was in my college. For some reason, I was not attracted to science or, IT. Actually, IT was going downstream at that time. So I was more into accounting and sort of, finance. That's where I get into accounting and finance. And then I was actually a bit, I would say, artistic, in which I was writing songs for my colleges. I was good with songs always, and music and dancing.
Wow.
That's my side sort of a gig, or call it
Your
as a
side
hobby.
hustle.
Side hustle, exactly. And then I chose to become a chartered accountant, and my creativity went down with it. Shall we say that? But yeah, I mean, went into a qualified chartered accountancy route back in India. Became a qualified chartered accountant. Worked at PwC. That's where I saw a global opportunity, actually, Philippa, wherein I saw a lot of people from UK, US, coming down to our offices in India, in Mumbai, or wherever it may be in India. And I so that's fascinating, to sort of deal with foreigners from our perspective when I was in India. And I always sort of got attracted to that globalized opportunity wherein, I can deal with international clientele. I can do something with them. At that time when I was in PwC, I had no idea what it would be and, what I want to do. Then I figured it out that actually, offshoring and outsourcing, wherein, you access talent from India, uh, and, that gets exported as a service to global destinations like UK, US, is something what I want to get into. And
Yeah,
that was the reason why, I started Pinnacle back in 2017. And
yeah.
rest is history, as they say.
It's interesting though, because you say that your creativity has gone downhill, but actually, just from what you've said there, I think your perspective is quite different. I think, when you talk about having people surrounding you, and lifting yourself up, I think that's quite a insightful piece, certainly when you were, pretty young, to be honest, to understand that quite quickly, but also, that perception continued. So when you were at PwC, you saw around you what was going on and thought, actually, A, you want to get in on it, you want to get into the global scene, but B, you understood there was an opportunity there. So
Absolutely.
then I understood that then you came to the UK, is that right?
Yeah, I mean, it's been, quite recently I've been to the UK. I mean, the business was set up when I was in Mumbai,
Yeah,
back in 2017. And it was actually before GDPR kicked in, which was in May 2018. And I, thoroughly remember that date.
yeah,
But even when, we set up Pinnacle in 2017, it was still, I would say, a tabooish subject then too. I mean, we're talking about 7, 8 years ago from now on. And and the reason why it's because, of course, let's face it, I'm happy to admit that, there has been a bad reputation about the call centers and the whole piece, around the, the call centers of banks and everything else. So that had a very wrong perception about the entire industry. But actually, that is a voice solution, wherein outsourcing, offshoring, that what we are doing with accountants and bookkeepers, it's more like knowledge process outsourcing. So yeah, it was quite different back in 2017, but things have changed because, of course, the technology that we have, the cloud servers and cloud softwares that we have, that makes it absolutely easier now for accountants and bookkeepers to say, you know what, yes,
yeah.
we want to do it because, let's face it, almost everyone sort of, have heard about it, or most of them are doing it, or they've already done it before. So it's sort of quite a wide and open market. Acceptance ratio has gone up. It's no longer a taboo subject, Philippa.
Why
So
is
I
that?
think
Why do you think that is? Because and how have you managed to, I think fight is the wrong verb, but I can't think of a better one. How did you push back on that? Okay, there was technology that made it easier and more streamlined, but obviously perceptions are very different. That's more emotional, isn't it? So what have you done over the years in order to sort of build that up and to sort of push against that sort of stream then? What have you
that's a
done?
very good question. I mean, it's still a work in progress, to be quite honest, because there's still a lot of perception about that,
Yeah,
that still exists, sadly. But it is what it is, and I don't blame anyone because it's how sort of, you've sort of, heard from people around, or, it's sort of a default in you. So it takes a bit of a time to untangle, actually. But the way we try and give that back or explain as to how, for example, we are different, or how actually offshoring, outsourcing industry overall as a whole has evolved in the last 4 to 6 years, I would say, particularly, is because, let's face it, I mean, we are talking about India over here, where the average age is less than 30. There's a
yeah,
young, dynamic population. They want to do well. India is still a developing nation, so a lot of people, they come from lower to middle class families, and they want to do well. They want to provide for their family. So there is a greater ability to sort of source people in India, and the way we give
good
it back,
quality people as well, you mean,
good quality
really? Yeah,
people,
yeah,
driven. Accounting and finance comes quite naturally to them, and their English and communication is getting better and better. I mean, it is tough. I mean, if you take an average say 10 years ago, and if you take an average now in terms of how well they speak, it's vastly different. Because in the past, I would say a lot of people actually studied in their own vernacular medium. Now, almost everyone is studying in English medium. I mean, English is actually a very highly or widely spoken in India. So, you get English speaking candidates. Yes, of course, they don't speak in the same accent. I mean, there's a whole accent thing you have in the UK itself, right, Philippa? You have,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
all over. So, but they're speaking well. It can only get better. So from our perspective, the way we push back, saying that okay, it's a young dynamic workforce. They want to do well. They're good in accounting and finance. They are trained as well, so you don't have to train them, and they are willing to do well for you. The only challenge we get sometimes is the cultural misfit, which is a gap, which as an industry leader or even with my management team, our idea is to bridge the gap between the expectations of clients and the abilities that we have in India. So it's basically marrying both these elements, and if that is done with a right mindset on both sides, really, from our side and from client side as well, with a greater open communication channels between both the parties, and more importantly, what we are trying to do is actually try and encourage or request our clients to come over to Mumbai. I know it's a long flight, but it does go a long way. I mean, we've had many visits this year, for instance, and what it will do, Philippa, hopefully in future, that it will sort of eliminate this mistrust or the whole impression of the offshoring outsourcing industry as a whole. Because when you come over and you suddenly like, oh, okay, this is not the office, or this is not how we thought the situation or your circumstances would be. It's actually quite brilliant than what we had in our mind. So I think it just eliminates that trust issue, for instance, and which helps in sort of building more relationship. We can rely on each other more, and you can get things done more. So yeah, we're just
yeah,
trying to do different things by trying to
yeah.
hashtag stand out from the crowd, and
Well done,
like,
you. Yeah,
yeah, or generally as well for the industry as a whole,
yeah, yeah,
to
yeah.
sort of increase the confidence.
So what have you learned then? Because 2017 seems like quite a long time ago, and 2024, I mean, obviously I know you now and I see you everywhere, and maybe it's because I know you that I see you, but what has changed in terms of the way you approach kind of your marketing or your standout or whatever? What have you learned as you've gone through?
I would say honesty, like on day one, to any potential clients. I think just be honest with them as to what you can deliver and what you can't deliver. I think that's very important. I mean, have a open dialogue with clients and set realistic expectations for them, because offshoring and outsourcing is not like a quick fix. It's more like a journey and not a destination. I mean, you got to have a right mindset. So what we have learned over a period of last 6 to 7 years is that set the right expectations for your clients. Make sure that your team understands those expectations. Um, and yes, we still make mistakes. Everybody does, but it's more like how you learn from those mistakes and not repeat that. Sometimes there can be a misfit. Maybe we are not right for certain set of clients, or maybe certain set of clients are not a great fit for us. So, and that will easily sort of, you can flush that out in the first 3 months, and then you decide the way forward. I think the fit of both the parties is very important to sort of go long term. And we always say that, okay, give some time, because it's a journey and not destination. And I'm sure that's with any other service industry as well, Philippa. Like, nothing is like a quick fix. You've got to have a
Yeah,
commitment. You've got to have a right mindset on both sides and open communication channels, I think.
yeah,
And
yeah,
then everything, falls in place. So yeah, that's what we've sort of, learned, and we're still learning in this
yeah.
journey, and, try to get better every day.
I mean, one of the conversations I remember when you were talking about set expectations was the sorts of, the sort of granular conversation that you have, which is, what do you really need? Oh no, that might be too much for you to start out. I mean, I think, and again, this is less about talking about the business, but the approach. And I think that the approach is good, which is, when you say set expectations, that sounds what does that mean? But give us a little bit of a taster of how you sort of go through and go, maybe you need this, maybe you don't, maybe that's too much. Because I think that was really a sort of genuine approach.
Absolutely. No, that's important. I think is just being honest about. I mean, as a business, of course, you want to do more sale, you want to get more customers because it's more top line and more bottom line. That's how the business works. It's the inflow and outflow, and what you have is the profit or cash inflow. So I mean, the way we look at like, okay, although there would be a quest to sell more, but we actually got to see what client need and would need for the next 3 or 6 months and give them what they actually need rather than what you think that they need. We got to understand if client do not need, for example, say 100, they need 50. So you give them 50. As they like you more, they will get to 100 themselves. You don't say you need 100, but they actually needed 50 and you knew that on day one. So
Yeah.
by doing that, you're making more money out of that, but they're not getting a good amount of value out of you. And at the end of the day, the relationship can go long term if there is a true value for money. For any pound spent, you got to get the pound return as a service. It can't be half. So from our perspective, we always say, okay, do you really need this or you need a little less? Because that's what our assessment is. I mean, that may almost sort of turns out to be that okay, it's a bad salesmanship, if you see what I mean, because we are actually saying it's less. But hopefully, by that, what we are saying is we are winning your trust because we are being honest on day one that okay, this is what you need. But in future, if you like us more, you can have more. So I mean, that's
Yeah.
that's been our sort of approach. I would say off late. I mean, I'll be very honest here. Like we've learned that over a period of years that this is the right way to go about rather than saying yes, you need this when they don't.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's absolutely right, because I think, as you said right up front, that the sector, the outsourcing, offshoring, can sometimes be, people don't really understand it or don't trust it. And so the last thing you want to do is totally kind of meet that and start to oversell. I mean, the fact that you're saying actually you probably don't need that is the basis for a good relationship, isn't it?
Exactly. And then you look at the customer life cycle. Like if they be with you for like 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, like we've had many customers who've been with us from day one and they haven't left us. Yes, I mean, there have been few who have sort of drifted apart for various reasons, but we've retained our customers well. And we do that by, okay, selling it right and building relationship. I mean, we are quite heavy on building relationship. And you look at the life cycle. I mean, over a period of a year, 2, 3, or more, you're going to make money out of them. You don't want
Yeah.
to go on day one and sell more and say, okay, let's do it for 6 months. And then after 6 months, it's just dead end and that's it. And then it may never come back again because, once it's gone, perhaps it's gone forever. So you rather be selective and be sensible in the beginning, build that up and look at long term. And that's what we like, I mean, that's how we position ourselves is to be like a long term, a player. And with any industry as well, I think the relationship and trust is the foundation of any arrangement really.
Yeah, yeah. So, kind of moving on, I know that we had a conversation before we started, or was it yesterday? I can't remember, but we talked about that you've been to every single event there is. You're always on the move. You were at ICB Summit, you've been at Accountex North, and goodness knows all kinds of other places. And you've had people like Bev Flanagan to come and visit. So you've been doing a hell of a lot this year. What's that? Is that normal, or has this been a real year where you've kind of absolutely focused on getting your message out?
It's been a year actually. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just this year, to be honest. Like, if you see up until the end of December 2023, we are not to be seen anywhere really. I was just coming in I was still visiting all these events, but mostly as a visitor. Because and that time, we had about 200 odd people already. So we built this business through relationship and a good service. And when you give a good service, the referrals come in automatically. So we built up to that level. But then there comes a point where, when you bump into your existing clients into events like, say, Accountex or others, and they expect you to be there because you're not exhibiting, for example. Well, that's one reason. But also, we thought, we haven't made a louder noise in the market. People didn't know about Pinnacle brand. So we thought, okay, this is the year where we're going to make loudest noise in terms of try and get ourselves out there just so that there's a brand awareness. And that goes long way to, first of all, give a comfort to existing clients that, hey, we are here, we are, we exist, we are a long-term player, we are reinvesting into the ecosystem, learning from one another, because it's a great thing to do, sort of, exhibiting at different events, learn from one another, keep a tab on the latest trends, be at the forefront of it. And yes, of course, to business as well. I mean, I would be lying if I say, okay, the quest is not to get more business. It is that too, but it's a
Of
long-term
course, yeah.
approach where you build the brand slowly and gradually, and then walk the talk. So yeah, it's literally this year where we've been sort of at different events, and if not exhibiting, we make sure that we are attending at least just to sort of be in the ecosystem and see what's really
Yeah.
happening. And you know that, Philippa, like every time you go, something or the other is new. I mean, we live in such an advanced sort of pace at the moment with AI automation and a lot of different things. So I think we got to be quite on the go and keeping ourselves abreast to all the changes, and then feed that back to the team. I mean, that's important because they are the main crux of the business, is the operations. Feed that back to the team, train them, retrain them, reskill them, and see what is happening in the industry, what are the new trends. So yeah, it's very, very, very important from our
Yeah.
perspective.
Yeah. And that's the bit that I think is, for me, I was really impressed by in terms of the way that you do work with the team. Um, and it seems like the way that you approach it and your attitude is very forward thinking from my perspective. I mean, even so far as like when I bumped into you at ICB Summit on Monday, you brought a colleague over so that she could experience that particular event and sort of come over to the UK, etc. I mean, what is your what how do you approach kind of keeping your team engaged? I think it's quite interesting for people to hear.
Absolutely. I mean, if you think about offshoring as a business, I mean, think about those accountants, bookkeepers that work for us in Mumbai. They are quite remote, of course, more than 8,000 odd miles away from the UK. I mean, of course, they can see everything online. They can read it.
Yeah,
They're smart people. They can do all that. But it makes sense to sort of collect all the experiences that say, for example, I'm getting, or my colleagues who are coming over getting from here. We bundle that together. When we go back, or even on Zoom calls, we explain to them as to what we are doing, why we are doing, what are the latest trends. Like, I'll give you examples of, okay, AI automation being the trend, so we are keeping abreast of that, giving our team members training on that, whether it's the latest, not latest, I would say it's been there for a while, but business advisory support services, which is more than a compliance offshoring, for example. So we give those additional training to them because we know that's coming or it's already here, and we need to be staying ahead of that. And how do we catch all that? Because we go to all these events. It's all in the air as to, okay, what is latest, what is the flavor of the season, what's where this industry is going, and things like that. So you get all these clues from all these events, talking to industry peers and experts, and you learn that and you pass back to the team. And because they need to then inculcate those learnings into their workings, which eventually helps our clients as well. And because we work with more than 120 businesses, the advantage that we have, Philippa, is that we've got many firms who have ideal practices. So we are able to share ideal practices with other clients because that's what it is. It's about ecosystem where we can help our existing clients who are, say, a bit behind in their digital journey. So we say, okay, why don't you do this or why don't you do that? Because we came across this at these events, or some of our other clients are doing like this. If you do this, this is the advantage, and XYZ. So I think it's more like an ecosystem where clients can benefit as well as our team can benefit. Uh, and we make sure
yeah,
that we pass on that knowledge. It's very important to sort of keep
yeah,
up to
yeah.
date, relevant, and hashtag stand out.
And how does the team respond to that? Because generally speaking, and that's a silly question because I would imagine that they appreciate that, but just well, tell us a little bit about that, how the team responds to that.
Yeah, so I mean, from my team's perspective, they understand that AI automation is here, or latest trends. We need to be quite relevant. So they definitely try to learn. I mean, of course, one would learn faster than the other. So you always have like a good players and not so good players. So that's the whole thing about capitalism. That you got to give best opportunity to your best performing team, basically. So the way they look at it is that, okay, this is a great opportunity for me. Let me embrace that. If I do that well, I'm going to get promoted, or I'm going to get more clients. I can get my team bigger. So they get more motivated towards sort of learning quicker, because more you learn quicker, I mean, it's going to be good for you, and it's actually quite dear to you, because it's knowledge is your asset. It's not company's asset. So they take it positively, and then they apply
Yeah.
practically when they're working for clients. So they look at really positively. They want to learn, and they want to be relevant in the market too.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what I really noticed when we've chatted, that the opportunity that they get as a team, you know, you could say that when you're behind the scenes, actually you're very removed. But to me, I got the impression that there's a lot of opportunity there if they want it. And I think that is probably quite different. Tell us a bit about that.
Yes, you're right. Because if they're not to be seen, they're working remotely. Like they have no clue what's really happening besides what client is feeding them or we are feeding them. But of course, they are smart people. They figure it out. They're all on LinkedIn, or they are, of course, tapping all those, important websites. But to put things in perspective, someone has to sort of guide them. Okay, this is the right way to do it, or this is the path, and we are taking this path, and let's go on the path. But if you have any suggestions, bring that in. So the way they think that, okay, I have been working on certain clients, I've been doing certain tasks, but beyond the point, they also want to grow. And you can only grow if you have acquired new skill sets. I mean, it can be interpersonal skill sets, or leadership, or AI automation, what have you. So if they grab all those skill sets together, bundle them in their working, it's going to help them uh, sort of make more valuable from their perspective. They become more valuable from clients' perspective, and which is a win-win, because think about client or accounting firm or bookkeeping firm in the UK. If they can get most out of people, say with us, I think they will be laughing, because they'll be like, "Wow, this is brilliant." We started with them, getting them a basic work, but they can now get on to do more advanced work as well. Which is what, like, they would like, because
Yeah.
it's a true value for money that they're extracting of investing in us as well.
Yeah, yeah. I just think it's really important, and it feels like there are lots of levers, that you can pull. One of them is, as you talked about, the ecosystem with clients and sharing that. One of them is your sales technique and your ethos behind that. One of it is kind of your team, and how you bring them along on the journey. And, the other one is sort of getting out there and sort of talking about your story, going to the events, etc., etc. So now that you've done this big sort of year of attending events, etc., what's next? Do you think what's next in the strategy, or are you going to be thinking about that over Christmas?
Yeah, there's a lot of time to think about that, but yeah, I mean, mostly. So it's going to be like, first of all, serving existing clients, because they are the backbone of every business. Look after them, serve them more, actually sell them more, because they are the easiest one to sort of sell. If you do a good job, the reward for that is more work. So just be with existing clients. I mean, our clients kindly give us references, get that as well. I mean, yes, we are going to participate in some events next year as well. I mean, we haven't decided which one, but I think that consistency is also important to sort of raise that branding awareness. But yeah, we'll be cross-selling a lot of new products or services that we are working on at the moment, which I mentioned about business advisory support services, which we already do with some clients, but widely we are going to cross-sell to our clients. And basically, navigate different opportunities. Like audit is one thing that we are quite heavy on. We bring people over, I mean, to the UK for on a secondment basis as well. So they work at clients' premises for up to 6 months. So we are looking at these new opportunities because there's a lot of demand at the moment. And from our perspective, the way we can stand out is by giving what market is demanding at the moment. It's the skill sets, and that's what we have
in India. So yeah, I mean, we'll be doing more with existing clients and keep the momentum of branding and awareness going and learn from the ecosystem basically.
Fantastic, fantastic. So I'm sure there are people who kind of have been really fascinated to hear about the journey and really fascinated about the approach. And it feels like the approach is, different, but also there's that quality behind it and that value. So if somebody's interested in finding out more, how will they get in touch with you?
Absolutely. So I mean, they can get in touch with me on LinkedIn, DM me, or send me an email at Mayank at pinnacleglobalgroup.com, which is Mayank at pinnacleglobalgroup.com. And, happy to, go on a call and explain more. It may not go anywhere, but we're more than happy to sort of, share our experiences and, our learnings over a period of years and see whether we can potentially help them in future.
Yeah, we have your team apparently are watching as well. So
Oh,
you're
lovely.
they're you're walking the walk. It's from Summit, who a great example of keeping the team engaged. We're watching this in the office right now, so that's
Lovely.
really
That's good.
lovely. Yeah,
That's
hi
good to
Summit.
see.
Hi, hello team. Fantastic to hear that you're all listening. Thank you so much, Mayank. It's been a real pleasure. Um, I love talking to business owners who and CEOs and all of that who really do have a great perspective on how to stand out. And it's not just, the image, it's walking the walk as well. So
Absolutely.
hopefully people will reach out to you. As for me, if you're interested in finding out more about how you can stand out, then please, I'm on LinkedIn, or my website is www.insight101.co.uk. But that's a wrap.
Absolutely.
We shall be finishing off now, and I will be back in spring for spring standout. But until then,
Lovely.
let's say goodbye to everybody. Take care. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Philippa. Appreciate that. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.